Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to UBC Camp's Play and Learn at Home live stream. My name's Maya, and today I'm going to be taking you guys through how to make a windowsill garden from kitchen scraps that we already have in our homes. The theme today is going to be to reuse, reduce, and recycle, and to make our homes a little more green. Before we get started today, I have a couple of housekeeping notes. For our live stream today, all participant video and audio should be turned off. If you haven't already done so, please just take a moment to do that. Throughout our live stream today, if at any point you may have a question, please just use our chat function, and our Zoom moderator will respond to your question as soon as possible. Please just ensure that while using the chat function, all language is respectful and camp appropriate. One quick note about this live stream in particular. So for today, for our vegetables, we're going to be having to make a couple of cuts. For our parents and guardians, I'm just going to go over these right at the beginning so that hopefully you can either assist your campers or do this yourself while I go through the materials list with them. After that, they'll be all set up to do the rest of their activity on their own. So really quickly, for our lettuce, we're going to want to make a cut about 2 to 3 inches from the bottom, just flat across. In the end, it's going to come out looking like this, a flat top, very similar to this. For our bell peppers today, we're just going to want to cut them in half and then remove the core. Please ensure while doing so that we leave the pulp and the seeds in, as those will be the parts that we're using today. Our strawberries are good to go as is, but our final item that might require a little bit of parent help is just for our plastic cup. Using a pair of slightly sharper scissors or maybe some toothpicks, you'll have to make a couple of holes this big in the bottom. I did mine using safety scissors, which are slightly pointed at the end. However, if you're a little more patient than me, you may be able to make it work with toothpicks. While our parents or guardians are helping us get set up with that, I'm just going to go through all of our materials that we need today just to make sure we have everything. If you don't quite have what's on the list, don't worry. Again, we're trying to use what we have in our home, so I'll be going through some substitutes that we can use instead. Is everyone ready to get started? I'm really excited, so let's go. So everything that we need for today is, first of all, our fruits and veggies that we're planting. I've chosen 3 of my favorites today, so I picked my favorite fruit, which is strawberries. You'll need about 2 to 3. I also picked one of my favorite vegetables, which is bell peppers. You only need one of these guys today. The last vegetable that I chose for today was romaine lettuce. We'll just need one of these heads. Although I'll be showing you 2 different ways to plant it, so if you have some extras, you could plant those too. Also, we're going to need some dirt. I have a big bag of potting soil behind me, but if you just have dirt from outside, that's okay too. We'll also need some water. And as we're trying to reuse and reduce, I've just put some in some old containers I found in my recycling. If you have a watering can, I have a little spout that I added to mine, but if you have a watering can, that works really well as well. And even just a normal spray bottle that you might have found in your bathroom works really well, especially for our smaller plants. We'll need some containers to plant in. I have a couple of dollar store containers that I bought here. These are perfectly fine. However, because we are trying to reduce, reuse, and recycle, I also grabbed some containers for my recycling bin. This is just an old feta container that I've cleaned and washed out and I'll be using to plant today, as well as an old can, same thing. I've just washed it out and we'll be using this today as well. The last few things that we need are some popsicle sticks and some markers, just for labeling. Our cup, as I mentioned before, with some holes poked in the bottom. A pair of safety scissors, some toothpicks, a spoon, and a mason jar. Now that we've gone through everything that we need, are we all ready to get started? Let's go. So the very first thing we're going to be planting today is our lettuce. So right now, he should look about like this. 2 to 3 inches high and pretty flat on the bottom. I'm going to put them down over here and we're going to get started. So the very first thing that we need other than our lettuce is going to be our plastic cup that we took. the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take our lettuce and we're gonna place it in our cup. How far down into your cup your lettuce goes is gonna be totally dependent on both the size of your cup and the size of your head of lettuce. If it goes down further or even stays up a little higher, it's no problem whatsoever. You'll just have to adjust the amount of water that you add in later. Now that we've done that, setting him aside, we're gonna grab our mason jar. We're also gonna grab that container of water that we had earlier and set him to the side as well. Next, we're gonna take our cup with our lettuce and place it in our mason jar, just to see about how far down our lettuce goes. Again, if yours goes down further or higher, that's totally okay. You'll just want to make note of approximately where it is. Taking that out again, we're going to pour our water into about where we thought our lettuce was. For me, that was pretty high up on the jar. When we place our lettuce back in, we're going to want to make sure that our water comes to about here, about an inch above the bottom of it. When you place it in, you'll want to be pretty slow so that the water doesn't overflow. Looking at this right now, I can see that my water doesn't quite touch my lettuce, so I'm going to have to take it out and add a little bit more. Putting it back in again, I'm going to see one more time if the water covers the lettuce. I might have to do it one more time just to make sure it's right. Nope, that looks pretty good. It's a little bit hard to see on the video, but for me right now, my water comes up to about right here, so about an inch from the bottom. And surprisingly, that's it for your first one. So we've already planted our first vegetable. So this lettuce is going to grow for 2 to 3 weeks on a windowsill in direct sunlight. The only thing you're going to have to do with him is to make sure that every couple of days you check the water level. If it goes down at all and isn't touching the bottom anymore, you're going to want to top it up. Even if it doesn't go down, every 2 to 3 days, you're probably going to want to change out the water just to make sure there's lots of oxygen. The last thing that I always make sure that I do with all of my plants is I make sure I label them. Sometimes when our plants are really small or even still seeds under the ground, it's hard to tell what they are, and sometimes I don't quite remember when I planted them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our popsicle stick and our pen from earlier, and we're going to write what we planted and today's date. Can anyone tell me what today's date is? I think I heard May 12th. That sounds about right to me. And do we remember what we planted here? Lettuce, good. So on my popsicle stick, I'm gonna write lettuce and May 12th. Just like this, and maybe a little bit backwards on your screen. Just like that. This is gonna help me remember for later. All I'm gonna do with my popsicle stick is place it right in the top so that you're able to see, and that way I'll be able to check what it is later. For this guy, we're all done, so congratulations! We've already planted our first plant. This guy, we're gonna set to the side, and at the end of the session, we'll make sure to put him on a windowsill. For our lettuce, if we didn't have a plastic cup or a mason jar, there's an even easier way we can plant it as well. If you have in your house a small glass bowl like this, you can take your lettuce head and place it directly in the bowl. Next, you'll add water to the bowl around it to about the same level that you did in your mason jar. And that guy you would put directly on a windowsill. It's that easy. The only difference with this guy is that for this, you would have to change out the water every single day. For our lettuce, it will take a couple of weeks to grow, after which it will need to be transplanted into some soil. At the very end of this video, I'm going to show you a demonstration transplant with a plant that I planted a few weeks ago, just to show you how to make them nice and cozy in their new home. For now though, enjoy watching your lettuce grow, and we're going to move on to our bell peppers. Taking our bell peppers, they should now be cut in half like this, with lots of pulp and seeds left in the middle. I'm going to take my toothpicks from earlier and make sure I can scrape some seeds out. Ideally, I'd want about 6 to 9 seeds, but it depends how many you'd like to plant. Once I've scraped out all my seeds, I'll put them in a nice little pile and set my toothpick and my pepper aside. Next, we're going to want to grab one of our containers from earlier. I'm going to be using the little feta container that I grabbed. What we're going to want to do with this guy is fill him with soil about 3/4 of the way full, or about this far from the top, whatever your container may be. I'm going to reach behind me now and grab some soil. When you do grab it, it should look like this, about this full. If your soil is very light and fluffy, you may want to give it a very, very gentle pat, but make sure not to pack it too tight. You also want to make sure it's about level on your surface all the way around. The very next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our spoon, or our fingers if we're okay getting a little messy. Next, we're going to take our spoon and make 3 tiny little holes. I use this with the back of my spoon because I have a pretty big spoon part of the spoon. You can also, though, just use your fingers to make tiny little holes. When you're done, you should have 3 holes evenly spread out throughout your container. Next, we're going to take our seeds and we're going to drop 2 to 3 seeds in every hole. Can everybody count with me? 1, 2, 3 in the first one. Moving on to the second. 1, 2, and 3. Good job, guys. 1 more to go. And on our last hole, we're going to drop 3 more seeds in. 1, 2, and 3. Great job. At the end of this, it might be a little hard to see, but you should have 3 holes with 3 seeds inside each. Can I get a thumbs up from everyone if that's where we're at? Great job, guys. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're very gently going to take our soil from the sides and we're going to push it to cover the tops of our seeds. Nice and gentle, just like tucking them into bed. We still want to make sure we're covering them, but we don't want to push too tight. It's important that our seeds still have air, even in their dirt, and if we push too tight, they might not be able to get all their air. Once it's all even, all the way around, you can go ahead and add a tiny little bit more dirt on top. I'm just going to use my hand here and sprinkle some more on. I'll move that around and make sure it's nice and even. The last thing I'm going to do is going to give them a little bit of water so they have all the nutrition and the water that they need to grow in their soil. Taking either our watering can or one of our recycled containers holding water, or even our spray bottle, we're just going to add water to the top of the surface. We want it to be evenly wet, but we don't want it to be muddy. I'll show you what mine looks like when I'm done. So as you can see, the top is shiny and it's wet, but I haven't made the entire thing soaked and it's not muddy. Our peppers are going to be real happy growing there as long as we put them in a place with lots of sun. The last thing that we're going to do just like for our lettuce, is we're gonna take our marker and our pen and we're gonna write down what we planted. Does anyone remember what these were called? Good job, bell peppers. So I'm gonna write bell peppers and today's date, May 12th. All right, once I've written my label, we're gonna put them just in the side of our container, just like that. Congratulations, guys. We've done 2 out of 3 of our plantings. So far we have our lettuce and our peppers. Setting those both aside, we're moving on to my favorite one now, the strawberries. Grabbing our strawberries from earlier, we're gonna need those, our toothpicks, and one more container. I'm using the tin can that I pointed out earlier, but any sort of container will do. Taking our strawberries, we're gonna need to take our toothpick and gently pick out the seeds on the outside. I will warn you, it takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of time. This might be one thing that we may need to ask for a little bit of help with. So same with our peppers, we're gonna try and pick out 6 to 9 seeds. If you don't get that many, again, don't worry about it. You can always come back after the video or even just plant a few less. I'm gonna take my toothpick now and my strawberries, and I'm gonna pick out my seeds and place them in my little dish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Good job, guys. Almost there. I know it's a little tedious. And the last 3, 7, 8, and 9. And these guys are much smaller than our pepper seeds. So if you look, they'll look about this big, pretty small. I've got about 9 here. Just like with our pepper, the next thing we're gonna do is gonna need to take our container and some dirt. Once again, we're gonna wanna fill it about 3/4 of the way from the top. For me, in the can, it looks about this full. Once again, after patting it down very gently, we're gonna take either our fingers or the handle of our spoon again and make 3 holes, just like last time. And there's my 3rd one, just like that, in the center of the can, or whatever container you're using. Next, we're gonna take our seeds, and exactly the same as last time, we're gonna drop in 3 seeds per hole. Can everyone count with me one last time? All right, so the first hole, I've got seed number 1, seed number 2, and seed number 3. Perfect. Next one. Seed number 1, seed number 2, and seed number 3. Perfect. And the very last one. Seed number 1, seed number 2, and seed number 3. Perfect. Great job, guys. That was tricky. Now comes for the fun part where we get to play with a little bit of dirt. Again, you're gonna take your finger and very gently cover each 3 holes. Pat, pat, pat. Just tucking the little seeds in. One last time, we're gonna take a little bit more dirt. So for my container, I'm gonna wanna fill it almost all the way up to the top. We're gonna take a little more dirt and place it on top. Just a little more. Just like that, just to the top. Finally, I'm gonna do one more popsicle stick just so I remember what this one is in a few weeks when they finally start to grow. Does anyone remember what this last thing that we planted was? Strawberries, awesome. So on my popsicle stick, I'm gonna write strawberries, and once again, May 12th, which is today. Perfect. And now we place it in our top. Congratulations, guys. That's all 3 of our plants. Not only do we have our strawberries, our peppers, and now as well our lettuce, we're all ready to put them on a windowsill. No. So a quick question from a parent was that, do we need holes in all the other containers or just in the lettuce one? For this one, we specifically need the holes in the lettuce container so that the water can come through to meet it. Because these other 2 are planted in soil, they don't need holes in the bottom. If you'd like to add drainage holes to the bottom of your container with a parent's help, you can, but it's not necessary. In a couple of weeks, once these will sprout, we'll be transplanting, which is what we're gonna do next, into a larger container. And typically these do have drainage holes, just like this one in the bottom. So the very last thing that I mentioned is that after a couple of weeks, our plants are gonna start to grow. If you remember from earlier, I mentioned that one of the ingredients or one of the materials that we could have used today were old eggshells and cartons. And you might be thinking, we didn't use any of those today. If you're really running out of containers in your house, or if you really want to recycle, the very last way that you can plant your plants is in small eggshells with a little bit of dirt and in a reusable eggshell container. These are 2 strawberry plants that I planted about 4 weeks ago. And this one, which you can see very excitingly, has started to grow. I planted almost 2 months ago. They do take a little bit of patience to grow. This guy, because he has grown, I'm going to show you today how to put him in a bigger pot with more soil so that they can grow even bigger, and eventually we'll get some more strawberries. So taking one of our larger pots, and these ones you may want to get from the dollar store. As I mentioned earlier, typically pots that you buy do have holes in the bottom, and those can be very helpful in larger pots. Once again, though, when we're trying to reuse and recycle, it's very easy to make holes in the bottom of just slightly larger recyclable containers and use those as well. Once we have our larger pot, same thing, we're going to fill it with soil, although this time a little less than 3/4 full. Perfect. This time, we're gonna take the round end of our spoon and make a much larger hole in the center by pushing the dirt to the side. Once I've made my hole, I'll show you what this looks like, just so we're all on the same page. Perfect. Just like this. So a larger hole in the middle with the dirt pushed to the side around it. Next, you're gonna take, if you've planted yours in your eggshells, or otherwise, you're gonna be digging them up from your other containers, being very careful just not to damage the roots. If you've planted them in your egg container, what you're gonna do is very gently crush the eggshell around it so that the roots will have room to grow. After you've crushed it, as you're placing it in, it's gonna look a little bit like this when you're about halfway through, with the eggshell crushed around and the plant on the inside with the dirt around it, just like that. Next, we're gonna take some more dirt and put it all the way up to the stem of the plant so that the eggshell and the top of the dirt that we already had in there is completely covered. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. This might be easier too to use your spoon to spread the dirt around. Perfect. Once you're done, it should look a little something similar to this. With your plant planted in, no more eggshell visible. We can brush the little bit of excess dirt off. And nice dirt following it all the way around. Now, our plant has dirt, and it's gonna be put in the sun, but what's the last thing it needs again? Water. Good job. Very last thing we're gonna do is take our watering can, or whatever container our water is in, and just sprinkle our water. Remember, we want the whole top of the soil to be wet, but we don't want it to be muddy, or the plant won't be very happy. So there you go. This is about an 8-week strawberry plant. So in about a couple of weeks, or maybe a little over a month, that's what yours should look like too. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. That's all I have for you, but tomorrow, please join us again on Wednesday, May 13th from 11 to 11:30 for children from 6 to 8 years old for Gymnastic for Kids, Jump, Stick, and Land. Kids will learn fun gymnastics jumps while building strength and movement confidence. Safe landing techniques will also be covered. This session has also been recorded and will be posted on UBC Camp's YouTube channel. Share your experiences online, and please share the Windowsill gardens that you made today by either tagging us at UBC Camps on Instagram and UBC Camps on Facebook, or by using the hashtag UBCPlayLearn. Once again, we'd love to see the gardens that you guys created today, and thank you so much for joining me. We look forward to seeing you again soon, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye, everybody.